Da-da-da. Welcome back, everybody. This is Team Spirit with your host, Lauren.
Carrie and Emily.
And this week, this week we're talking about the journey into spirituality, whether that's in mediumship, tarot, astrology, really any of it, and kind of what our listeners or anyone who's interested in doing their awakening, what it kind of looks like, and maybe some like suggestions from what we've done. All of us in like our first episode, we all talked about that we've kind of just have always felt it in us. Like it's always been a part of us. And so when that kind of, you get that spark, it's then figuring out what to do next.
Yeah. And it can be very overwhelming. I mean,
Especially with social media, I feel like.
it's a lot. It's a lot, and it can look like a mountain that you have to climb, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way.
Yeah.
I know, like, I can speak for myself, and I definitely know Emily too, but there's like this really like inspiration and eagerness, if that's a word, to want to know everything and learn everything at once. And I think when you're discovering spirituality, you have to understand that spirituality, it doesn't have the constraints that religion has. Right. It doesn't have a book that you follow. It doesn't have rules. It doesn't have any of that. It's vast and it's open and it's infinite. You can understand that, and then you can also understand that your spirituality is going to be different than mine or from Emily's or from Lauren's, and it's going to be unique to you. Then you just really kind of lean into where you're called. I think for a lot of people, at least for me, it started with meditation. That sounds so simple, but it really did. It started with the concept of meditation. I remember I've always been really into reading about it and like reading about mediumship. I said in episode 1, I loved Sylvia Browne. I've read almost all of her books back when I was like a teenager, and I learned a lot from that. But there were always peaks and valleys, you know, to my journey in spirituality. And that's normal too. But when I really started like getting into it, this was at the point where I was training to be a Reiki practitioner. My anxiety, like I said, was really high, and I was trying to find ways to calm the mind. I downloaded Headspace. That was the app that I downloaded to start like practicing meditation. I always like assumed meditation was just something that, you know, Buddhists did. Like I didn't think that like everybody, you know, anybody can meditate. I thought of it more as like a religious type of practice.
Yeah.
That just tells you how much I knew at the time. But I started to try it, and I built up like starting for 2 minutes a day to 5 minutes a day to 10 minutes a day. And I think doing that, it opened me up more to all the other like facets of spirituality. Like just because you're on a spiritual journey doesn't mean you have to know everything, and you have to, I will never know astrology. It's like I think it's cool, and I like hearing people talk about it, but it doesn't like pique my interest super like a lot. I don't know, I can't talk today. It doesn't like really pique my interest like card reading does, or like mediumship does, or so I think it's just really like, don't get overwhelmed. What do you think?
I think it's normal to like I think for the most part it's normal to want to know everything when you first are.
It's exciting.
Yeah. And I know for me, like I wanted to, at one point I thought I was going to learn psychism, mediumship, past lives with Carrie. And then I was learning tarot with Steph. And then I wanted to start at this astrology school and become an astrologist. And it was like, dude, I can't. Plus I wanted to do Reiki.
Yeah,
and
it's a lot.
I couldn't, it was too much. It was way too much. And I do like astrology. So I do plan someday to become an astrologer. What I've learned is that this is a journey.
Yeah.
It's not a race. And I think that's a really hard concept to grasp, because we're brought up in a society where everything's on a timeline and you're supposed to have done all these things by a certain time. Also, our society is very ageist. Like if you're past a certain age, it's useless to learn anymore.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
like
what is that about?
Like we're all in a rush to get our degrees or get our certifications so that we're not too old. Like You're never too
Yeah.
old. Never.
Everybody's
Uh,
like running for that like 30 under 30 list.
yes.
Like as soon as we hit 30, we can't do the great things we've been wanting to do. And I just, where did that start? Especially
I don't
because
know.
if you look back at some of the more progressive people who've done wild things, a lot of them are like in their 40s, 50s, some 60s.
Yes.
Why are we limiting ourselves?
I know.
I don't, I don't,
I
yeah.
can't tell you
And
how
it's,
many people I've heard say, "Oh, I'm too old to go back," and they're like in their
yeah.
50s. It's like, no, you're not.
Yeah, you are never too old. There was just a man recently, like it came up in one of like the accounts I follow for like running, and he was like 73 and he ran like he did the 6 world marathon, so he just got his medal and he was like, I only started 5 years ago. Or like
Wow.
it was probably a little more longer than that. In his 60s for sure. He was like, I haven't been running all my life. Like I started running in my 60s. Like this isn't a because you didn't start at this time, it's over for you.
Right.
I want to
Absolutely.
find there's something I want to read to you guys that goes off of just like what you said, Emily. It says, "What is my purpose in life?" versus "What brings me alive at this point in my life?" And
Yeah.
I think, and I
Exactly.
saw that and it literally was like, ooh.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
the
And it,
tingles.
yeah, it says the second question removes the pressure to know the meaning of your existence and trains you to view purpose as a moment to moment conversation with your
Yes.
soul.
Yes.
1000%.
And you reminded me when you said that. And like, we can't learn everything at one time because then we're only learning percents of things and we're not
Mhm.
holding on to that knowledge. And so we feel like we set ourselves kind of up for failure when we're trying to cram all these different things and things aren't sticking and we're forgetting. We're like, okay, well, maybe that's not meant for me. When that's not always the case. It's maybe you need to slow down and just put your focus here. And maybe once you learn X, it'll help you learn Y because you already have some groundwork built in X and so on and so forth. And then also, like, if you're trying something, you're like, this doesn't pique my interest, that's fine. We
Right.
don't have to do it all when it comes to spirituality.
And we don't have to overcomplicate it. Like
No.
it's not supposed to be complicated. I really feel like at the end of the day, spirituality is your relationship with yourself. I think
Yes.
is like the biggest part of it. And
Mhm.
really connecting to yourself and figuring out like what gives you those tingles, what inspires you. And healing is a big part of that, of spirituality too.
Mhm.
All the other stuff, learning how to use divination, learning how to connect with your guides, learning this deity work, learning magic, whatever it is, it's just extra bonus yumminess. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like it's just extra. If you really want to dive deep into spirituality, start by connecting with yourself in whatever way that looks like for you. And I get a lot of people that I read that I can tell as soon as I'm in their energy that they're very inspired and there's a lot of like newness and freshness. And I can always tell when somebody's starting on an awakening.
Mhm.
And they're always like, well, what is that, what do I do and how do I do it? And first of all, enjoy this moment,
Yeah.
that of this excitement, because you're being introduced to really a whole new perception and a whole new view on life. Allow your human to like catch up
Right.
for a minute. You know what I mean? Like sit with that, because there's always time to learn new tricks and tools, and all that stuff is really great. But just being with yourself in those moments, you can't take that back. You know what I mean? Like it's just so important. So don't get overwhelmed. And there's, like you said, Lauren, there's so much content out there. I would
Content
like
overload.
yeah, and there's a lot of people, selling themselves to you as far as spiritual coaching and mentorships, and that can be really enticing,
Mhm.
but I don't necessarily think that it's absolutely necessary when you're first starting your journey.
Can you guys talk a little bit more about finding a mentor and the things that maybe you should look out for and the feelings that, like things that you guys maybe wish you had known when you were first starting out, especially when it comes to mentors, since you guys have had a mentor and now, Carrie, you are one. Like, what suggestions do you have for people that are looking for mentors or even considering it?
My God, this is like a whole other episode.
Mhm.
Oh, it's a loaded question, because I think I want to start by saying that a mentor for me might not be a mentor for you. Like, we're all individual.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there's necessarily like here's the characteristics of the perfect mentor, because we're all human and we all vibe with different personalities. And I think that like the number one thing is taking the spirituality out of it, like outside of that person's work. And I think this is going to be controversial in some ways, but take the work out of it. How do you feel about that person? Like,
Yeah.
how do you feel about them as a person? What energy do you feel from that? What vibes do you pick up from that? You know, like, how do they make you feel when you're in their presence? How do they make other people feel? You know, I think that that's like number one, is you need to, even if they're like the most amazing medium, amazing psychic, super gifted, incredibly talented, take that away. And how are they when they interact with other people? Like, how's the human?
Yeah.
Because that's where I really fell short multiple times when I would come across people that were mentors. I was just so enamored by their work and what they were capable of and how talented they were. And they were. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They are very connected. They are very talented. I don't question that for a second, but they weren't, for me, a role model of character.
Mm-mm.
And I think that that's the most important thing. It's like anything. It does, even outside of spirituality. You want to learn from somebody that, you know, you feel like your morals and values align. I think that's number one. And then you can bring the work in and say, okay, do I like that style? Do I connect with that style? Because that's important too, because everybody's style is different. Everybody connects to spirit different. Everybody use different divination, you know, how they use their intuition and that divination is different. Everything is different. Really, like, getting to know yourself and how you see yourself doing the work. Do you want to learn from somebody that does that style? Because even with mediumship, we're all connecting to somebody who's crossed over, but how we connect is very different. I mean, there's incredible mediums out there that they just are able to really like channel. Like, Emily's an incredible, she channels a lot of her information. And then there's others that maybe they need those symbols, or they need, you know, they need to like build up a vocabulary with spirit so that they can have more structure like in their reads. Everybody, so like, figure out what your style is first, and then maybe consider figuring out like a good mentor for you.
It probably feels a lot like dating in a way.
Yeah.
Right? Like, or like when you find a therapist, that felt a
Yes.
lot like dating, and not like I'm talking, you kind of socialize first to be like, is this someone I can work with? I want to share. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a vulnerable path. It really is, because a lot of people are so skeptic. So when you're confiding in someone that you would like to be a mentor, but then you're like, oh, I don't know. If you don't trust them, it
will
can't
never
be it.
work.
They can't be it. And I
And
think
it
that
takes
goes
a
for
while to see that side of somebody, because the way people present themselves in the beginning of any relationship is going to look drastically different than 6 months into that relationship. So that's another really good point. Be in their energy for a while before you decide to make that sort of commitment. Watch what they do, watch how they work, and above anything, watch how they treat other people.
Yeah. And do you think that's also kind of a thing? Like, so if you've been watching someone and you kind of feel like preyed upon from the beginning, like if they're pressuring you, they're like, and that makes you uncomfortable, listen to that. And I think that's a really hard thing when it comes to sales in any sort of way, because that's what it is. It's their business, and they're selling themselves.
And
And
love bombing. Watch out for that too, because that's a way to pull you in. Everybody wants to hear how gifted they are and how great they are and how psychic they are and how they have all these abilities, and oh my gosh, you're this, that, and the other. And, you know, that spoke to a part of me that's not healed, that I needed that sort of validation to feel like I'm something. And, you know, as I've gone throughout this journey now, it's a red flag. And I don't really do that with people. If I feel, and spirit's definitely giving me that this is an outlet that they should really look at, because they do have we all have abilities. We all have natural abilities. Then I will say it. But when you see people love bombing other sitters all the time, that is a red flag.
Well, it's kind of like when you're doing a reading and it's coming through in that sort of way as a message from your guides is totally separate than when after the meeting's over and they're like, hey, I just want to let you know, I personally like that when they
Yeah.
start kind of unraveling that little spider web is
Yeah.
a big difference. Because, like, Carrie, I've seen you deliver those messages, but they're a message of from your guides, I'm feeling like you have an interest. And then they confirm, and it's, and you always give it your message with caution because it should be given with caution. There's so many people who are just like, if you manifest and just quit your job, do this right now, it'll happen because you put it out there. And like, that is dangerous.
It
That is
is.
Yeah.
not how it works.
No, it's not life.
Yeah, and nothing is. Like it's just I mean, listen, for some people, I guess they're lucky and it works out for them. But I don't know, you just got to be real careful with who you listen to. And I think at the end of it, it's got to be your gut and your heart and
And
your own
aligned?
brain
Do
you
you
listen
feel
to.
aligned, right?
Yeah.
With that person.
I'll
Yeah.
admit, I jumped the gun with my mentor. I did not know who she was from Adam. I never watched her before.
But I did.
Right.
You had a reference.
Yeah.
You know what
I did have a
mean?
reference, but I'd be a hypocrite if I said that I followed any of that advice because I didn't. I lucked out. But don't do what I did because I lucked out and I did have you to say she's good.
Yeah.
But me myself, I did not.
Oh, well, I've jumped the gun. I mean, I'm guilty of it too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we have wisdom, because we have, especially me, I've tripped and fell many a times on this journey with people.
And when
But
our
like,
impulses, like when they
it's the thing, you get excited.
Yeah.
look at what I just did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old McDonald over here. Jeez. Our impulses are dangerous, but
They are.
Some are more
But
dangerous
like,
than others.
with Carrie, Carrie Koss is our mentor. Please make sure you're following her. It's Carrie
The psychic.
We'll
on
tag her.
TikTok. Yeah, tag her. Her above anything, she is just an incredible human being.
Yes.
Yes,
And
outside of it all. Yes.
she just is. And
Yeah.
like that's what makes her an incredible mentor.
Yeah.
Is her compassion.
Yeah.
And her willingness to really meet you where you are and to push you, but also hold space for you when you maybe aren't just quite there yet.
She also doesn't act like she's a god.
No.
Like,
and she never
lot of other
love
people
bombed
do.
any of
No,
us. It was
never.
always equal.
yes.
Always.
Yes.
She never made someone feel more special than the other. A lot of people out there doing that.
Yep.
There's a lot of people out there doing that. That's not healthy.
No.
It's tough. Finding a mentor is, it's listen to your gut. Like that's all I'm gonna say. Like listen to your intuition. It won't lead you. It won't lead you in the wrong direction. And sometimes
it's
it will,
also-
and it's because you had to learn a lesson.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes
You
there's
know?
those lessons we just can't avoid because we needed to learn them.
Exactly. And that's okay too.
And it's also fine to learn from things that aren't a mentor. Like there's so
No, you can be
there's
self-taught.
so many
Yeah.
books. Yeah, there's so much out there. And I think that's also one of the things to watch out for is those people who are like so dead set on you can't learn if you do it this way. Or if you don't do that. What do you guys call them? The police, the spiritual
the
police?
TikTok police. Yeah.
Yeah.
Judge and jurors of TikTok. My
Yeah.
God.
Like just because I learned from a book and not a person doesn't mean that I learned less.
Exactly.
I just need somebody.
Me
I'm
too.
very visual and very
Yeah.
like hands-on. That's how I learn.
Me too.
Mhm.
I don't think I've ever finished a book in my life. Maybe three books on the top of my head I can think of. Oh yeah, it's wild out there. It really, really is.
I think that's the beautiful part of spirituality is how different and how much different sources there are to learn from. And
Yeah.
that you can pick and choose by what speaks to you is
Yeah.
and everybody is so unique. And that is also what makes the
It's so
readings.
special.
Yes. Yeah. Your readings, Carrie, are so different from Emily's, and they're so different from your mentor, Carrie's, and from
Mhm.
all the other people out there. And that's what's so exciting is the way that they're served and the way that they're done. It's all unique, and it's unique to you.
And you know what? I just want to shout out Udemy really quick, because if you want to take some classes for dirt cheap and just kind of get your feet wet and see what your interests are without spending a fortune and like fully committing and learning things on your time, udemy.com has so many classes that you can take. You
Is
can
that like
learn
YOUTOME?
UDEMY.
Yeah, EMY, Udemy. Yeah.
Oh, you to me.
But yeah, I mean, you can spend $10 on a class and learn about like reading energy. You can take a $30 class on like the intro to spellcraft.
Yeah.
I mean, and you might get halfway through that class and be like, you know what, this isn't really for me. And guess what? You $30.
Right.
So that's a really good way to get in there if you want something like in front of you with material and somebody teaching you. That's a really great way to kind of dive in too, without spending a time and money, and feeling that pressure.
If you're interested in tarot, was there anything specific that helped you learn tarot? Or if you're interested in, if you're starting to feel like you're getting downloads, were there any tools that helped you be open to your clairs and those sorts of things? Like those sorts of tools, maybe not like a book type of tool, but just like something that you did to help be more open and accessible to learning the things you're interested in.
Well, tarot, like getting into tarot, I watched a lot of psychics, I guess tarot readers on YouTube that give collective readings. That is where I first dabbled in tarot and kind of self-taught that way.
Were they live readings or were they like pre-recorded?
Pre-recorded, and they were spot on.
Yeah.
Every time. And that kind of blew my mind, like, holy shit, like how can this be spot on to my life when it's collective, I highly recommend that.
You learn a lot from watching other people.
Yes.
You learn like what styles you like. It's amazing, like when you think you're not even paying attention, but you have somebody's, like just say you're in a live of a reader that you like, and you're absorbing more, I think, than what you even realize.
Yeah.
Even when it comes down to like difficult readings and how that person handles a difficult reading. But I will say, do that with caution, because you don't want to spend too much time in other people's rooms, because then there's that comparison. You don't want to you don't want to like oversaturate in that way either, but it does help. It definitely helps. And I think journaling, I'm not a big journaler, but I know Emily is. Journaling after meditation, or any synchronicities that you're picking up on, numbers that you're seeing frequently, writing that stuff down or voice recording it. I think,
and like not discrediting it, that then you're being served these things, and don't just ignore them. Like like think about them and how it applies to your life and the things that are happening. Was there anything that helped you to open up like your intuition to things, like with tarot and their meanings, like with the cards specifically? Was there anything you did that really helped you with interpreting them? I feel like people get really scared with tarot.
Yeah, sure. I mean, just doing it, I think, practice. I mean, just like I would always tune in psychically, like, and I still do before I really read the cards. But we were developed in psychism. So it's like, I wouldn't learn tarot before you tap into your psychic abilities. Right. Because then that creates just dependency on the cards. My opinion is I would learn how to use your psychic abilities and access your clairs before you bring divination into it, in my opinion. But I did take a course. I took a course with Tarot by the Sea. Stephanie, she's amazing, another amazing mentor. I did a 6-week class with her one-on-one, and that definitely helped. Before that, I had bought a Udemy course where I was just learning like the basic meanings, the very basic meanings, and then Stephanie was way more like in depth with the astrological meanings and the numerology and all of it at play in her class. And then I just started doing it. I started using the cards during my readings. Like even if I didn't know 1000% the meaning of every single card, the ones that I didn't know, I either wouldn't read them. And again, this is after I tapped in psychically and already started giving them a reading. Then I would just either not read it, or I would tune into it and use my intuition to read it if I got stuck.
There's all of them have the pictures on them in some way or form.
Yeah.
And so there's when they first come out, it's your intuition of what is it saying to you. And there's the symbols and things that go into it. Was that in one of your lives you had mentioned about like getting hung up on like the key words? Like if you learn tarot by specific words, it kind of trips you up and like traps you in a box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to
Yeah,
say.
because a lot of the cards are very similar.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of the cards are very, 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 very similar, but the imagery is completely different. So leaning in on that, the visuals are there for a reason, and there's a lot of messages just in the visualizations of the cards, the pictures. Don't get too caught up on the meanings of the cards because it will definitely trip you up.
Yeah.
It'll definitely trip you up. Trust yourself.
A lot of it just comes down to your gut. And also just not worrying about what other people say. Everybody has their own opinions.
Yeah.
And to diminish your happiness or your excitement in something because someone else is being a real butthead and thinks that you're a loser because of it, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
don't care about that person. They're a butthead for a reason.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if somebody's getting evidence from the reading and it's resonating, who cares how
Right.
you get there?
Right. Yes, Carrie.
Who cares? Gosh, let me tell you, people spend a lot of time creating content on stuff. Oh, it just like, and then I'm like, yo, why are you so triggered? There's a reason. So you need to like look at that a little bit deeper as to why you're so triggered by other people that don't read like you.
Yeah.
That maybe
and also where you feel the need to project that onto other people.
Right.
We all have our opinions and we can keep them to ourselves and move on. What is the reason that you are so inclined to engage in this way?
I don't know. I really don't. I don't have an answer because it's wild. I mean, I've seen content creators rip on tarot readers for not using spreads. I don't use spreads. Neither do you. It's crazy. I don't understand it.
And like, why would they want people to be exactly like them?
Right.
You're your own person, your own uniqueness to offer. People are just really silly.
I've seen them rip on people for the way that they shuffle the cards.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Okie dokie.
Some people get really offended by the flyers. Like when you shuffle and the cards fly out, they don't like that at all.
Those are my favorite
Me
reads
too.
because those are the ones where I take as I needed to hear this more than anything. Okay, you're asking for something. Put that aside because I gotta tell you something. That's how I take them. When they come flying out at me, I go, all right.
Here we go.
My butt's gonna be okay because they're about to kick it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. People just need to stay in their lane.
Yeah,
stay in your lane. Yeah, I just think that, when you're first starting, like I said, it's very easy to get overwhelmed. Just take it one step at a time. Please don't forget to have fun. It's supposed to be an enjoyable experience. And don't oversaturate yourself with all the information out there. Just follow your heart. I mean, I know it's so cliche, but there's just so many different avenues to spirituality. Just take it slow and take it one step at a time. If you feel called to have a mentor, great. If you want to be self-taught, great. If you just want it for your own self-development, great. Like there's no right or wrong. Just do what feels good for you, and it will never lead you in the wrong direction.
I think that was perfect. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I do want to say, if you are out there looking for a mentor, Carrie's classes, the enrollment is open. You have a couple more spots left, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So there is limited space and it starts April 3rd. So I'll put the link in for more information if you want to join Carrie's mentorship. And you can find Carrie and Emily on TikTok and Instagram for live readings. Carrie is at Clarity by CAM. Emily is at Enchanted Mystic by MK. And we are at Team Spirit Podcast. And again, for our listeners who maybe missed the last time, but we have our bite code for our pet parents out there. You can get 15% off. Oh, we'll put the image right here.
Yeah.
You can get 15% off with our code Team Spirit Pod.
Yep.
Check that out. Yeah. So thanks for tuning in and we will wait. Oh my God, we didn't do a read. Here, do you want me to do one? I have cards right here.
Yeah.
We forgot last week too, now that I think about it.
That's all right.
We had a special guest last week. Ray was really participating. We just got so excited by a dog. We couldn't help it. All right, let's see. Oop, 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 oop. All right, this one. Look at that.
I can't see. What is it?
It's a chicken.
Oh my gosh. It's a rooster.
Stop it. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so I guess for our listeners, the impulse I had earlier was I bought chicks. I didn't need chicks, but two are ill, so we don't know if we're not going to name them yet. But the card I pulled is a new day with chickens.
So
Oh my
sweet.
gosh.
I'll read it for everybody. Let go of what was in order to make room for what's to come. It may be time to release a relationship that has run its course, a job that's lost its luster, or a depleting commitment. The past is over and what's done is done. Acknowledge the feelings, learn from the experience, and give yourself permission to release any negative emotions or guilt. What one area of our life falls apart, new opportunities fall into place.
Perfect.
I love that they acknowledged you,
Yeah.
Lauren, with the chickens. That's really
Here's your chicken.
Yeah.
Dear God, I hope they are not telling me that that one is a rooster.
I know.
we were just literally talking about that.
Yeah.
Yep. It's fine. Well, it's one less chicken for Mark to want to kill me over, so I don't
Yes.
know what to say. So let go of the guilt and shame for liking the things you like, people. Tomorrow's a new day.
Love it.
And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.